Call the meeting to order at 6:08.
I got 6:11. That's 6:10.
Yeah, that eraser.
And for the approval of, I make a motion to, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, January 10th, 2017.
So moved.
Seconded by Rob. Any discussion? No? No discussion, then all in favor to pass the minutes of January 10th, say aye.
Aye.
I abstained, no one here.
Then I'll vote in the affirmative, aye, to pass it. Motion passes. Additions and deletions.
I don't have any.
Okay, I don't have that. Does anyone else have any?
Nope.
Moving to old business. Do we want to follow this agenda, Craig? Do we want to go on?
You can do it either way. Kathy had mentioned she was going to come, but she's just not.
So,
You talk to her?
all right. So I'd like to change the arrangement and do warrants first, if we can. I hope they're on.
And I don't know if they're numbered. I mean, they are and they aren't. I'll add numbers to them. It doesn't matter. You can just
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 1 in the amount of $80.
second. That's general fund, I believe. That's Andrea?
Yep.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Yeah, you got one. Idea.
No, sticking to
No discussion.
No.
No discussion, then all in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2 in the amount of $7,778.41. That's out of the payroll.
Second.
Any discussion?
Or payroll.
No discussion, ayes have it. Well, whatever she says.
Make a motion to pay check warrant report number 3 out of the general fund in the amount of $12,062.85.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant report number 4 in the amount of $22,167.39 out of the highway fund.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant report number 5 out of the general fund in the amount of $19,814.82.
Second. Can you give me that number again? 19,000.
$19,814.82.
All in favor, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Make a motion to pay check warrant report number 6 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $2,725.28.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant report number 7 in the amount of $5,293.28. It's for salt.
That's it. That's highway.
Highway.
Second.
Any discussion? Where are we at on tonnage on salt?
Where are we at on tonnage also? Well, I'm probably gonna need a calculator. I know. I'm trying to think how many tons it was. Oh, that needed. About 2/3 of the way on, so Right now, to date, with these warrants, Cargill Industries, 29,272.14 divided by 8150. You're at 357 tons out of 400 and change. I think it's is it 450? No, it's 400. I think it's 400. So you're at 357.85 tons. 358 tons so far this year. $29,272 with this warrant in salt and $27,880 in sand so far. $56,000 for sand and salt. Until the third week in January.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
So no members of the public. No correspondence that we have. Do we have correspondence? Go. Alright, we'll go back up to old business. In reference to the fiscal year 2017-18 budget, we need to pass that this evening, or at least vote on it. So.
Yeah. Did I just give you copies? No, I did. I did. I do that? Yeah, I guess I did. Keep one for myself.
I would entertain a motion to pass the 2017-18 fiscal year budget as drafted.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
What is the, if there need to be additions, changes?
If there needs to be one.
Additions, changes to the budget, as, you know, if there's something.
Well, as long as they don't affect the warning too much, we can shuffle a little bit internally.
Okay.
You can add to something, take away from something else. I mean, basically, it's a bottom line on the warning. You only have two articles. One is for the highway and equipment budgets combined. Let's see what it'll take to maintain the roads.
Right.
And pay the crew and all of that, buy salt and sand. And those numbers internally are flexible. And with the general fund, they are to a certain degree, except the warning spells out how much the select board is going to get paid, how much the elected officers are going to get paid, and how much casual labor is going to get paid. Those aren't flexible. But that number in this budget for the general fund, which is, you know, $400,000 and change, 425, 420,
Okay.
is internally flexible. Some of these are still guesses as to the
Right.
revenues that are coming in. Some are projections of what electrical costs are gonna call and fuel costs and things like that. And to some degree, they're pretty conservative. I mean, trying to keep the budget tight and bring it down everywhere we can. But some of those numbers are flexible.
Okay. And this motion is contingent on reviewed by the chair.
The budget, yeah, the budget will be,
Budget.
yeah, we will
Okay.
certainly look at the budget, but if you, because you had a budget meeting on Thursday night, you pretty well hammered through this, you've been looking at it since October. It is pretty sound right now. There may be things that you want to tweak later on, but basically it's pretty sound right now, and I don't think there's a lot of time or a lot of room to move too much around.
Okay. That was it.
But I'll make this contingent upon the chairs. And she's been looking at it as well. She's laid out as everybody should know, but she's
I
been.
got a phone call yesterday from Wyndham Solid Waste,
Yeah.
and I know there are 2 or 3 of them that wanna see what it's gonna cost to keep the MRF going without Brattleboro with private haulers.
Okay. Is Wyndham Solid Waste, I mean, I don't want to speak in front of the
But
board.
it hasn't been voted on. Or
No, of course not, but are they're entertaining that idea to at least look at some numbers? Because it would be a lot less, it would be less expensive for us and the transfer station towns, and maybe some of the other towns. I know Jamaica, I had long talk with someone in Jamaica about their rethinking their vote, which of course they can't take back,
No, they're not.
to get out. But they're looking at private haul, and they're thinking that They're looking at all options, and
Yeah.
if Wyndham Solid Waste would
But
continue.
see, it was voted to cease operations
Right,
as soon as all the material is cleaned up, but probably would be in July.
right,
It'd be a month cleaning everything up and getting it ready.
right, and our.
But now there's two other representatives want to look into minus Brattleboro. Look into running it and having private haul. In other words, like we pay the haul to truck it there.
Right,
That's something that I just found out about. In fact, I stopped.
well, that might, because if they do stay, and obviously it's open to, obviously for Wyndham Solid Waste to discuss it and make a decision about it, but if they do stay in business, then that would probably reduce our costs, certainly by the amount that the fee for closing, for number one. You know, our assessment would return to where it was originally projected to be, and that one-time closing fee wouldn't be added onto it, but the cost of hauling it might be different if it was simply going to Wyndham Solid.
My feeling that there'd be an extra somewhere there for the hauling part of it.
Right. Oh, well, they would have to be. I mean, somebody's got to provide the roll-off, and
Yeah.
if a private contractor were going to do it, then
Well,
they would
the
probably
district-
want it. They would probably want it sorted up here as well.
Yeah, but the district may furnish the containers,
Right.
but they still gotta have somebody haul them. I don't know just what's happening. Only I just,
Well, for the amount of money they've been talking about charging to haul it, we could buy a truck.
I don't know, not today.
Well, no, not anything new.
Not this,
But something Arnold would be happy with.
that's something that, as of the 1st of March, everything's gonna have to be pretty well tip-top or you ain't gonna get inspected.
Yeah, I understand. I
Once they
understand
take it,
the
they go-
permits and the fees and
the
the
permits,
licenses. And,
I mean, pictures and everything going right direct to Montpelier.
Yeah. Yeah, I was down at Best Milford yesterday talking to the guy down there.
In other words, a lot of these guys that have poor people not gonna be able to get them inspected.
Yep. And the equipment is like
And-
$1,600 for the
If
the
there's
shop.
something wrong with it, you can't fix it yourself. It's gotta be done by a certified mechanic.
And
Well-
you pay pass or fail.
You, right through the nose.
This is germane to the discussion with regard to passing the budget, and to your question, can it be changed? It can be changed at town meeting as well. The board can say, we have a warning for $420,000 municipal, whatever. We have new information that indicates that's gonna be 425 or 415. I mean, you can change it based on the reality
Right.
of time. That we now have a new arrangement, we're looking at an estimate on a contract, that has been solidified. Those numbers, we would now amend the motion for, to pass this article, we would amend it to be
At town meeting,
be a
right.
new number, right.
Yep.
So there is always that opportunity, and it's actually the responsibility of the board to make sure that it's timely at town meeting, that the numbers are valid then. But because you have to be out essentially at least 30 days, a little more than that, with the warning, and
Right.
because of the way things are going this year,
Yeah, no,
those numbers may or may not be solid by town meeting.
As you say, it can be amended at town meeting.
It can be amended at town meeting, that's what the board does. I mean, basically, to say we have an article, we would like to amend the number in the article, upward or downward, but change it to a new number, and explain why.
Everyone
So
else?
we do have a motion contingent upon approval by the chair for a budget.
So amend the motion, have it contingent.
It's,
Contingent on
right, proposed motion to basically approve the budget as drafted, contingent upon the chair's approval.
Okay.
Seconded by Will.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Congratulations, you have a budget.
All right.
Next, I would entertain a motion to approve the town meeting warning as drafted, also contingent on the chair signing for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
If you want my copy, I'll get a signature from you. This is my copy. I just had a copy. Looks clean. So, right. So this is dated today, the 24th. That's when you pass the motion. And that way I won't have to chase it down for signatures, and it'll become valid when Kathy signs it. And if you want to talk to her in advance of that.
How's she doing?
She's not mobile.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, she's not one to let the grass grow under her, so I mean, there's a little bit.
I'm not surprised by that either.
But she's in pain.
Yeah.
We're moving into new business, town meeting lunch.
Yeah, I did not get numbers yet, and I do have one call out, but I need to make a couple of more to get some estimates on town meeting. Historically, it runs about $1,000, and plus minus. I mean, it's been as low as 7, it's been as high as maybe 1,100. But I will have numbers for you at the next meeting. But at the budget meeting, at any rate, you were fairly determined to go ahead and provide catering for that, and obviously any donations may offset that, so we can try to get word out. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's something you sort of need to do, whether you want to form that into a motion or not. It would give me some guidance as to whether I should contract with somebody or put some numbers on the table in front of you so you can make a decision about it. But as to whether you want that pursued, I guess it was in a workshop that we talked about that, and there was a sense from one of you that we should go ahead and at least pursue the idea of it. So.
Yeah, pursue it and get some numbers, and
Get some numbers?
historically some people never return them, so then we'll go carry that on, table that to the next meeting on the 14th. We're moving to town reports. Highway, I have per diem employees listed on the agenda.
Yeah, there was just a question on the, and this was a background question as to how the board, well, we hired a per diem, Clerk did. I mean, we need a fourth guy once in a while. And there was question as to the authorities on that. I know it's been historic that the foreman can bring in day labor as he needs it. And it's been fairly constrained, at least so far this year. But with regard to the protocols on it, we got caught a little bit behind because the employee wasn't registered in the system. I had to get a W-4 form.
Oh, this is Mike, right?
Yeah, it was Mike. And I didn't know the rate of pay. The highway foreman didn't either. He just thought this was all something that the select board took care of somehow, or it was something that was historic, but it hasn't, you know. It's never been set in as to who gets paid what. I know, not to bring Joe into this, but he had some issues with that a couple of years past, that there was, I won't say an understanding, there was really no understanding. I mean, he would just get a call and sort of have to show up, but he didn't know what he was getting paid or what hours he was working and all that. The back office here, person that tries to manage the personnel and certainly manage the payroll, needs information as to W-4 withholdings and name, address, and whether it's electronic check and so many deductions and all of that. But aside from that, anybody working for the town really ought to have a driver's license on file or be listed with the insurance carrier, or yeah, I mean, there are liability issues, and I'm not an expert at this. Other people know a lot more than I know. But if we don't know who's working when, it's not a scheduled thing, it's sort of on call. But if we don't know who it is that's showing up, I mean, there should be a roster, and those people should be pre-approved, pre-vetted.
Yep.
You know they got a valid license, you know they don't need a drug test or whatever. Those kinds of things. So it caught us a little by surprise this year, and then not to have any technical information or legal information as to how to process a check. It just throws this room into kind of a little spiral of trying to get answers and figure things out. So anyway, the rate of pay right now is $13.65 for driving the truck. It is the small truck, not the big one. But I know with others it has been different, depending.
And that seems like it's something we should probably address in, October, November. Like, we get where we need.
Well, and the other question is that in the job descriptions, it's not a it's not spelled out in the foreman's job description that he has that authority. I mean, the authority comes from the select board, basically. And while it's been there, it's also been questioned, and it's just never really been spelled out clearly as to how that all works and how it interfaces with the,
Which part of the
With the
authority
running
comes from the select board?
all of it,
Oh,
every last thing. The buck stops right there.
and maybe dribbles off
I gotta
a
say-
past or so.
Someone's gonna
Circles
go
are-
As far as I know, they should know and have the driver's license on file here, whoever he hires, you know, to drive a truck or anything.
Well, yeah, and the question is whether it's my responsibility as your assistant, whether it's Elaine's responsibility as bookkeeper and part-time payroll to
Should be-
chase that down with the foreman, or whether it's the foreman's responsibility basically to provide that up front, maybe in advance. As a
I would
contingency.
think that would make the most sense,
Well,
because
sure.
he's the point of contact.
It's
He
not
has
a-
the chance
I'm
to
gonna
get
say-
all of that
It's not a new
stuff.
concept.
No, it's not.
That should be the foreman's job, make sure it's done. But,
It should be, but
But-
somebody, but an awful lot, a lot of times we have to chase things down, and that's,
oh, I'd see once in a while if it's an emergency or something, it
well, sure.
might not happen, but.
Right. And then the other question that came up, Kathy and I were talking about, I mean, the other question that came up is, when does that individual get called? I mean, what circumstances, is there any kind of means test, is there any kind of requirement, a threshold?
Right.
At which point you call that person, or you just throw work their way anytime you want to? There was a question about being out this Sunday, you know, with a fourth person. And as to what the duties are. If Mike Cutts is doing a pretty good job with the one ton, he's opening up fire ponds, which is important, but he's also a member of the fire department. And where those lines, you know, where there are delineations, who's responsible for what,
Right.
is basically what it comes
Right.
down to. And none of that is clear on paper, and it's changed with different boards, and understandably, the highway crew doesn't have full clarity from year to year, because it isn't on paper. And sometimes it's a matter of convenience, sometimes it's a matter of necessity. So,
Sometimes it's a matter of the Vermont Labor Law Board.
Okay.
so that's why that was there, and it was just a.
But also, we had to make sure that there's no time card and there's nothing signed.
Well, that was
Yeah.
what, that came through 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't signed, and it wasn't on a time card, and I didn't have a W-4 in the back folder, and I didn't have a mailing address, and all of a sudden I'm being asked to, you know, make a payment, and I didn't have a rate of pay. So, I mean,
Right.
all those questions suddenly came in, and you
You
can
can't just
send,
pick it out of thin air.
you can send all the emails, make all the voice calls, and leave voice messages, but you don't necessarily get called back in real time. We did get that worked out, so I mean, that's fine, and, no reason to complain. But as to
Yeah,
the protocols, the policies, the
Yeah,
clarity.
the parameters under which we
Yeah.
bring a fourth person in,
And I
who the
think-
fourth person is going to be.
You know, I think more specificity is better than none, I mean, or better than less.
Yeah, but I think that was pretty well, if they pay attention to it, it's pretty well spelled out in the time clock thing.
Well, in the time clock policy, it was.
Yeah.
Everybody
They
that can.
didn't-
Now, I understand Brian, who does this snow blowing, doesn't have a key to the building, he's not gonna come in and.
No,
punch
I
that.
mean, something like that.
Right.
But the highway and stuff like that, I thought it was pretty well spelled out.
Well, to the extent, yeah, and to the extent that Arnold is under the foreman's supervision, any issues that Arnold might have with his employment or access to the, whatever, that would go to the foreman to resolve. If the foreman couldn't resolve it, then it would come to me and I'd bring it to the select board, but it would come to the
Right.
board anyway. I mean, there is that hierarchy, so to speak, and anyone who works for Kurt, I would assume, would work those issues out with Kurt. It's just that Kurt needs to have those answers up front. And I was wary of not knowing what the pay rate was and thinking that before Mike was hired, Kurt would have said, yes, we will pay you. And then if it was a number beyond, you know what I mean? If it
Right,
was
yeah, and
made
you
up
could
of
have said anything.
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
We'll give you $30 an hour, you know, that kind of thing. Then there was gonna be a problem.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was casual labor rate, and that's fine, but,
Yeah. And it makes sense for it to be spelled out ahead of time for next.
right.
Okay.
So at some point, we are going to have to address the
Per diem employee. aspect of it.
Right, yeah, we're gonna have to look at the policies better, and maybe, it sounds like write the policies.
Well, I'll give you a copy of the personnel policy, and you can work your way through it. It does need to be revised a little bit. I think Joe will admit to that.
He doesn't seem to want to.
No, I can't.
Hey, that's water over the dam at this point. Law enforcement, we get a report.
No reports from law enforcement.
You get any money from them?
Yeah, we have, actually, to date, and I don't know how current this is. Comparative budget, where's the budget stats? Should have a budget stats report here. I just made. Right there. Let's see.
It's not as big as what the sheriff's department used,
No, they used to run pretty hard up in West Townsend.
but they got, sheriff's department got mostly local people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, state police got a few.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He stopped one guy one day and he said to me, "What the hell is this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I was doing 32 miles an hour and they stopped me in a 30-mile-an-hour zone." And the trooper told him, he said, "It says 30, that's what it means."
Yeah, little did he tell you he's doing 50, 100 yards up the road.
Let's see, we budgeted $10,000 for June or July 1st through December 31st. They didn't actually start, I don't believe, because I think we were late this year in July. I don't think they started until third or fourth week of July. But anyway, there's a $10,000 bill that we paid to the state police. So far, I think we brought in about $3,800, $39 maybe, because one more sitting back there that isn't in here. So probably about 40% return on the investment. And it's usually a little higher in the winter with the skiers.
Right.
I mean,
They
in
don't
West
come
Townsend,
to West Townsend.
they don't park
They
out there.
don't go
Yeah.
up there on Friday nights.
Yeah.
No, not too often.
The sheriff used to do it. It was a pretty good revenue stream for the sheriff.
Sometimes there was 3 sheriffs up there.
Really?
Yeah,
You gotta say, but 2, 3 days, I see 3 of them around here and then you don't see any.
yeah.
Well, I feel
But
safe
it's-
just knowing they're here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, according to the time they have and all that stuff. At least it lets people know they're here.
Town clerk, town treasurer, I'm assuming we got a report for, the counter money.
I think she gave me one. I'm not sure if I counted it or not, but I'm pretty sure it comes through pretty much weekly, every other week. And then Joe's got one.
Town treasurer,
Yeah, the sweep account. You have $892,223.74. The checking account, you have $29,943.74.
I think it's the other way around, isn't it? And the sweep have 30 and checking? No, it goes the other way.
You can only have 30 in the checking.
In the checking account at any time, it just pulls out of the sweep. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
okay.
Okay. Quick meeting here.
I have nothing else.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Aye.